my question is, and by the way, I'm also coming from electronics, so
Cool.
and okay, so my question is, what are the main friction points between data scientists and software engineer? Because as operations, as a operations engineer with background, I see this fight again between software engineers and operations. So what's new?
Yeah, well, nothing's new. It's the same old story. Totally agree. So just to paint the picture, 10 years ago, maybe not even 10 years, maybe less than that, there was a big divide between operations staff and developers. Developers would develop software. I mean, you've all heard this before, right? It's the whole reason why DevOps became a thing, was to try and attempt to smash down that wall between the developers and the operations teams. And that has worked somewhat. I'd say in larger companies, there are still very big operations teams. So they still exist and they're still there, primarily because there's also a lot of old software still running. So they need to keep running that software. So when I sort of started doing data science ML more full time, which is kind of about 2010, the same thing was emerging with ML. I would write algorithms, I would develop data science solutions, and then I would hand it off to a software engineer and expect the software engineer to implement that properly, because data scientists can't write proper software. And then that would then go off to the operations. And so you had these, multiple jumps, and it was a daily exercise of complaining about the other person. So the software engineer would complain to the data scientist saying, I don't understand this. What's going on here? It's crazy. It's too complicated. And the data scientist is going to the software engineer. It's like, it's not complicated. It's dead easy. How can you not understand it? So I fully agree with the push of DevOps up into data science as well. And I guess that's kind of falls under the banner of MLOps. Or data DevOps, or whatever you want to call it, but basically trying to bring the data scientists into the software team, into the operations team, and so all together as a team, they can actually they can be responsible for, and they can deliver good ML solutions. The downside is that in many sort of roles, that scope falls towards a single person. It's becoming more and more expected that a single person would be skilled at doing all of these things. And so that makes the stack, the full stack is becoming fuller. Like the word full stack is pretty funny, because it implies that there's nothing else to add. But in fact, there's stuff being added all the time. So we're going, uber full now if you're adding data science on the top of that. And there's obviously a limit to that. There's only so much that someone can learn. And so that's an organizational challenge.
Yeah, the full stack is now overflowing stack.
Yeah, right.